The 2026 NHL Draft Lottery has come and gone, and with it, the funniest thing that could have possibly happened.
12. The number 12.
The number 12, the Toronto Maple Leafs have won the NHL Draft Lottery, and Matt Sundin is smiling ear to ear.
That's right, the Toronto Maple Leafs got the first overall pick, and while some people are very excited,
Oh my God!
most people are more like this.
No! No!
And a lot more people are wondering the question, is the NHL Draft Lottery rigged? You can find a lot of people asking that question in any comment section you can find, and while I think no matter what you do, the Draft Lottery will always be questioned, it might be worth examining if the NHL is in fact rigging the lottery. So are they? Probably not. Probably not. But you can make a couple of cases that they are, if you try hard enough. So let's take some time, let's review the last 6 years of the NHL Draft Lottery, and then let's come up with some questions about what they could possibly do to get people less skeptical about it. But before we do that, let's analyze how the Draft Lottery works. Now, the NHL wants you to understand how the Draft Lottery works to make it look legitimate. They will explain it to you like you're a kid. Literally.
Ready?
Let's go over it real fast. There are a bunch of ping pong balls with a bunch of numbers put into the chute. A set of those 4 numbers have been assigned to every team multiple times depending on the odds. For example, Vancouver had the best odds, so they had 100 combinations that could have worked. On the side of the screen, they had live stats to tell you how likely it was for a team to win the draft lottery based on the numbers that had been pulled. On the surface, a completely legitimate and fair way to do it, because it is a legitimate and fair way to do it, especially since the draft lottery is live. Probably. I mean, there's no way to prove that the NHL Draft Lottery is in fact live. We just had to take their word for it. They could record this hours ago, multiple times to get the desired result if they wanted to. It's not like they have a live clock in the background, and even if they did, you could always screw around with that. So unless they did it in front of a bunch of fans, there's really no way to tell if the NHL Draft Lottery is live or not. The numbers pulled and the numbers assigned are assigned in advance. We know this because the Vancouver Canucks publicized their numbers beforehand this year, and I doubt they would get the Vancouver Canucks involved in a situation of rigging the draft lottery when it's not rigged in their favor, so it's probably legitimate. That's how the draft lottery works. Except for 2020, when it worked differently. So let's start analyzing the draft lottery, starting with 2020. Because in 2020, COVID happened and screwed around with everything. As such, the NHL playoffs had a play-in. Now, 7 teams were not put in the play-in tournament, those being Anaheim, San Jose, LA, New Jersey, Ottawa, Buffalo, and Detroit. And they're all put into the draft lottery, plus something extra. The teams that were eliminated from the play-in tournament were also in the draft lottery under a special ball. And of course, that one won the first overall pick, which meant 2 things. Number 1, the NHL could do a second draft lottery and get more ratings. Number 2, they could give this to a better team. The prize at the time, the highly touted Alexis Lafreniere, I mean, they could help a team like Chicago or Toronto who were eliminated in the first round, or New York. The Rangers winning the draft lottery for the 2nd year in a row, by the way, definitely brought some suspicion. Let's go to 2021, and this one I think is squeaky clean. Owen Power, Matty Beniers, not exactly game-breaking talent. Good players, but not exactly top tier. Given the first overall pick to Buffalo, a team that could just use a win. It's probably nothing. 2022, another year where the worst team won first overall, Montreal. Now, Montreal is an original 6 team. They are the most historic, most storied team in the league. You can always say that they're maybe helping out Montreal a little bit, or they just won. Who's to say? 2023, Chicago Blackhawks, Connor Bedard, that one is fishy. The Blackhawks were in the middle of the Kyle Beach scandal. A bunch of bad press for all the bad things that they did. There were people involved in the franchise getting banned. It was a bad time to be a part of the Chicago Blackhawks. But here's Connor Bedard, the most talked about prospect since probably Connor McDavid. And they get to move 2 spots up to select him? That seems a little fishy, doesn't it? 2024. Another one that may be slightly fishy. Of course, San Jose and Chicago were the worst 2 teams in the league that year. However, Macklin Celebrini going to the Bay Area, where his dad worked and had connections with via the Golden State Warriors, seems a bit convenient, doesn't it? At the same time, though, the Sharks were absolutely terrible and definitely needed him. So that one's probably fine, but if you want to see it, you can see how maybe they got involved. 2025 may look clean as well, with Matthew Schiffer going to the Islanders. But can I say this is actually the most rigged one so far? Did you remember that the 2026 All-Star game was supposed to happen? They canceled it, and it was supposed to be in Long Island. So the Islanders lost out on hosting the All-Star game and any revenue that would have generated. And to smooth that over with the Islanders, They got the first overall pick in a massive jump. That's a bit conspiratorial. But if you look at the second overall pick as well, that went to Utah, a brand new market who could use something to talk about as a brand new market. Just saying, they jumped from 10th and 14th to 1st and 4th. Again, conspiratorial? Yes. But should you think about it? Honestly, not too much. The NHL is a legitimate league. Let's think about this for real. Let's take our tinfoil hats off and then put them right back on because you're balding at 21. If the NHL Draft Lottery was rigged, people would find out very fast. Think about it. It only takes one person leaking this out to somebody like a Rick Westhead, and then the entire thing falls out entirely. The rigging of a draft lottery could be the end of the league as you know it. Quite frankly, it's probably too risky to even do. But that won't stop people from questioning it every time. So, what do they do about it? Well, like I said earlier, they could hold it live so everybody sees. And when I say live, I mean in front of people. But that's expensive, and I mean, who really wants to go to that? The best way to not have the draft lottery questioned is to not have the draft lottery. But what do? There's two things. Number one, you just go like the NFL and don't have a draft lottery at all. If you're the worst team in the NFL, you get the first overall pick. Simple as that. This means the Vancouver Canucks would have been on the clock the second the season was over. It may not be a bad idea on paper, but what this does encourage is flat out tanking. You're going to see teams sitting players, trading players, just to be the worst team in the league so they can pick first overall with absolutely no repercussion. If you see how people are talking about the NBA when it comes to tanking, you probably don't want to be a part of that. So here's the second idea. Be like the PWHL. They don't have a draft lottery. They have something called the gold plan. It goes like this. Once a team is mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, any points that they get from wins or overtime losses or anything like that, their points actually go to becoming the first overall pick. Whichever eliminated team accumulates the most points as part of the gold plan gets the first overall pick. Of course, if you are the worst team in the NHL, you are probably eliminated first, thus meaning you have more time to accumulate points towards the gold plan than anybody else. Of course, the PWHL is a smaller league. There's only 8 teams in it right now. Through the first 2 years of their existence, only 2 teams did not make the playoffs each year, and one of them was eliminated on the final day. The gold plan has not really been pushed to its limits yet, and you might just be a bit skeptical or a bit gun-shy on really trying it out on a bigger scale like the NHL, but it's probably worth thinking about, because we don't want people questioning the legitimacy of sports. If people start thinking it's all rigged, they start tuning out. Not to mention how entrenched gambling has become in sports. If you're rigging stuff and it's screwing over gamblers, you have an even bigger controversy on your hands. I don't think the NHL is rigging their draft lottery. I think people are just upset. And it's fair to be upset that your team is now in a worse spot than you thought they would be. The Vancouver Canucks have been the most screwed over team in the NHL Draft Lottery. They have lost a total of 10 spots, which is more than second place of Ottawa and Detroit. The Vancouver Canucks have had about a 98% chance to move up in the draft lottery, and they never have. Ever. Other fan bases like Ottawa and Detroit would also point out that they've been screwed over in the draft lottery a ton, because they have. While teams like the Rangers, Leafs, and Blackhawks seem to be favored, and maybe the NHL is stepping in to rig the entire thing, or maybe it's just bad puck luck. So if people are really honest with themselves when it comes to the question, is the NHL Draft Lottery rigged? The answer is only when it doesn't favor me. All right, that's it. Thank you. Subscribe. Please subscribe. Subscribe. There's a button right there. If you subscribe, you win the draft lottery. I can't enforce that, but it'll work. I promise. Goodbye.